great if you could lock in the profits on your projects up front and then be able to confidently forecast how much you're going to earn on each project before you start instead of after the project is done. Have you ever wondered, how do the big builders and how do the big general contractors manage all that risk? How do they take on larger and larger projects and continue to be profitable? How do these guys sleep at night with all those unknowns that they're liable for? Well, in this episode, you'll learn about one very small phase of every construction project that's the key to locking in profits up front and reducing your risk. Every large commercial general contractor does this, but a lot of small companies are missing out. They don't know about this little tiny phase. So today you're going to learn about how to lock in profits and assign risk with a solid buyout process. Whether you are a commercial general contractor, a custom home builder, or a remodeling contractor, and you want to lock in your profits, if you want to reduce your risk and you want to eliminate some chaos, this is for you. You're listening to the Construction Leading Edge podcast, where it's all about systematizing your construction business to eliminate chaos and maximize profit, freedom, and impact. My name is Todd Dawalt, and my team and I here at Construction Leading Edge have helped over 400 construction companies eliminate chaos, grow their profits, and grow their team. So here's what you're going to get out of this episode, which is all about answering the question, how do you lock in profits and assign risk with a solid buyout process? Here's what you're going to learn. 3 keys to a solid buyout process. You may be wondering, what the heck is a buyout process? We'll talk about that. You'll understand why the timing of the buyout process is everything, how this is going to help you lock in profit and assign risk and what that means. The most common buyout mistake that most builders, remodelers, and small general contractors make. And as a bonus, if you stick around until the end, you'll learn how you can download your copy of the How to Buy Out a Construction Project Playbook, the step-by-step guide to help you implement this on your projects and cover a lot of the steps that we don't have time to cover in this podcast. So stick around and be sure to get your hands on that. I was talking to a general contractor recently, spending some time working with them, talking with their team, and I found out that they were dealing with some project delays and they were having trouble finishing their projects on time. They wanted to be able to forecast their completion date a certain amount of days out, and they just weren't able to hit that date. The superintendents were stressed out. They were running around. Turns out there were a lot of change orders being processed. There were some uncomfortable conversations with clients about these change orders and delays. And as we dug into it, it turns out that they were getting bids on some scopes of work in advance, but some scopes of work were being left up to the superintendents to figure out. And I realized that they were doing most of the right things, but there was one activity that was being done at the wrong time. It was being done too late in the project. See, here's what was happening. The superintendents were having to chase down selections on certain scopes of work and chasing down decisions from clients really late in the project. Then, once they got the decision or the selection from the client, they would go and get a price from a sub, and then they would go back to the client, check the budget, and they would have to get approvals from their office, and they would have to get approvals from the client, and the office might say, hey, we already have that scope covered, or that's over the budget. Ask them to select something else, or we have to get 3 prices on everything, or the client would say, I don't think that's right. That's not really what I want. Go find something else. And all the while, these superintendents were managing the projects on site, coordinating subcontractors, getting permits, managing deliveries, pushing things in the field, while trying to manage all of this procurement type activity. And the result was a few things. There were delays. This was one of the reasons that their projects weren't getting finished on time. Details were falling through the cracks. There were several instances of people saying, oh, I thought you ordered the window package, or I ordered the plumbing fixtures, but I gave them a different order and there's confusion. So there were things that were slipping through the cracks, and there was duplicated effort and some inefficiency there. There were invoices coming in from subcontractors with these surprises, these surprise costs that they weren't expecting, maybe overages from things that were selected that were over the budget. There were uncomfortable conversations with clients about things getting missed and cost overruns. There was a lot of friction, A lot of time, a lot of turbulence, a lot of organizational turbulence, a lot of time spent in reactive mode. And there was a lot of frustration all the way around. The superintendents were frustrated, the office was frustrated, the clients were frustrated, and the subcontractors were also pretty frustrated. So any of that sound familiar to you? Well, here's what I realized. There was one specific step that was being done too late. It was being done, but it was being done too late in the process. And with one simple adjustment, changing the timing of this buyout phase, it would eliminate a lot of these problems. So we're going to talk about the project buyout phase. Now, this is very common in commercial general contracting, the world where I came up through. I spent a lot of my career managing commercial projects, hospitals, office buildings, high-rises, senior living communities, and working for and with and alongside some of the largest general contractors in the country. Companies managing $20 million to $70 million construction contracts, companies doing $1 billion in revenue a year. And this is something that is just very normal. And it's a normal part of the commercial project, but it's not so normal in the residential and definitely not on smaller projects, even smaller commercial GC. So here's the definition of project buyout. In construction, a project buyout refers to the phase before construction, where a general contractor selects and contracts with all necessary subcontractors and suppliers, finalizing purchase orders and subcontracts to ensure that all materials and labor needed for the project are secured before construction begins. All right. See, here's the most common mistake that general contractors make. Commercial GCs, home builders, remodelers, anyone working with subcontractors, the most common mistake they make is they're buying out their projects as late as possible. They're buying out their projects as late as possible. They're following this just-in-time buyout philosophy, which says we're going to wait until we absolutely have to pick a subcontractor, order materials. We're going to do it just in time, which leads us to the first key to a solid project buyout, which is buy out your project as early as possible. So key number one is to buy out your projects as early as possible. Most people fall into this is classic just enough to start trap. And they say things like, we'll figure out who the drywall sub will be later. We got to get this project started. One I heard a while back was, we don't need to award the HVAC package on this commercial project. We need to get the site work guys going. We got to focus on the site work guys. We don't need HVAC for months. And what happens when you wait? What happens when you follow this just-in-time buyout? Well, prices go up. If you've been around for a few years, maybe you dealt with the lumber price craziness in 2020, 21, 22. There are a few lumber price spikes. Prices go up. Your A-team subcontractors get booked out. The good ones in a busy market can be booked out weeks, months in advance. Long lead materials get missed. So going back to that HVAC example, let's say you decide we're going to hire the HVAC sub 12 weeks before they need to start. And then you find out that the air handling units have a 16-week lead time after submittals are approved. So you're looking at you're looking at 6 months, and you hired the HVAC sub 3 months out. Now what? You can't compress the lead time on these air handling units. You're kind of screwed. And it's because you waited as long as possible, as late as possible to do buyout. In this case, your schedule falls apart before you even start. No matter how much money you throw at it, with expedited shipping and rush fees, you just can't compress schedules sometimes. So your schedule falls apart. So the fix is you need to be locking in subcontractors, pricing, and materials before you start the project. The reality is the best general contractors, the best commercial GCs, the best custom home builders, the best remodelers, the companies that work efficiently with subcontractors, they understand that buyout is a pre-construction activity, not a construction activity. Let me say that again. The best general contractors understand that buyout is a pre-construction activity. It's not a construction activity. We'll get back to the show in a minute, but real quick, are you a home builder or remodeler who's tired of doing free estimates that leading nowhere? Are you tired of investing your expertise and hundreds of hours of your time a year on estimates for unqualified leads and tire kickers? What if instead you could get paid for estimates? If you could get paid for your expertise and position yourself as a premium contractor who attracts better clients? Well, that's exactly why I created the Get Paid for Estimates Masterclass. It's a free step-by-step masterclass that's available for a limited time that shows you how to turn estimates into a profit center and land more profitable clients. In the masterclass, you'll learn a few things. You'll learn the 5-piece bridge to get paid a premium for your estimates. You'll get the 2 sales script with the exact words to show prospects the value of paying you for pre-construction work. And you'll get the pre-construction pricing guide to confidently price your pre-construction services. It's a fully baked system, everything you need. And it's the system that nearly 1,000 home builders and remodelers are using to finally get paid for estimates. So if you want to stop giving away your expertise for free, click the link in the show notes and sign up for the Get Paid for Estimates Masterclass today. All right, let's get back to the show. So now let's talk about the second key. Imagine your client hands you a carton of a dozen eggs. Okay? Could be cage free range, organic, could be the generic stuff that comes in a styrofoam. You pick what kind of eggs these are. But each egg in your carton represents a different type of risk on the project. One egg has the risk for site work. One is for foundation, for framing, electrical, HVAC, etc. Also, each egg represents a risks for labor shortages or price increases or things like that. Now, the moment a client signs a contract with you, they've handed over the entire carton of risk. So they have assigned this risk to you, and you are now responsible for every single one of those eggs. You are now responsible for all of that risk. You have just signed a contract, and you've taken on all of that risk. And the longer you hold on to those eggs before you assign it to somebody else, to a subcontractor or to a supplier, the longer you hold on to those eggs, the more risk you carry, and the more likely one of them is going to break, costing you time and money. So your job as a general contractor is to distribute those eggs as quickly as possible to the right subcontractors. In other words, your job is to assign that risk to different players on the project team. Assign that risk to subcontractors. So the sooner that you get your subcontractors under contract with clear pricing, attached to clear scopes of work, with good contract documents, the sooner you assign that risk to them. This is why big general contractors buy out projects like this. This is a typical buyout process for a general contractor, very abbreviated version. Step 1, they bid the project to the client. They propose, they give a price, a proposal to the client. Step 2, the client comes back and says, we want to negotiate with you. So the general contractor negotiates a contract with the owner. Step 3, they sign the contract with the owner. And then immediately after that, step 4 is to buy out the project immediately. Write subcontracts, issue purchase orders to assign the risk. A general contractor's job is to carry that risk for as little time as possible. In other words, as soon as they assume the risk by signing a contract with the owner, they're carrying that carton of risk. And a really good general contractor understands I have to assign that risk as quickly as possible. That's why commercial GCs buy out projects immediately. All right. The other reason they buy out projects as soon as possible, not only to assign that risk, is to lock in their profits. Let's say you sign a contract with your client. You're a general contractor. You sign a contract with your client on a project that has $100,000 worth of lumber and framing material and framing labor. All right. $100,000 for the framing package and framing labor. I have a couple of options on how to buy this out. Option 1 would be to order the material when you need it, right? You sign the contract, you have some pricing that you're locked into with the client. Option 1 is wait until you need the material and order that material. Then you could self-perform the labor, the framing labor with your own crew. Maybe you pay a crew time and materials to do it. Maybe you hire a subcontractor and you get a price when it's time, right? When it's time to start the framing, you call the guy that normally does the framing for you and you get a price from him. Okay. Option number 2 is to hire a turnkey framing contractor who will provide all labor and material. And you agree to a scope of work and you sign a subcontract agreement with them for $100,000. All right. You've assigned that risk by doing that. So which of those 2 options allows you to lock in your profits up front? Option 1, where you're ordering the material when you need it and maybe you're self-performing the labor or paying a crew time and materials, or option 2, where you're hiring a turnkey framing subcontractor. Option 2 allows you to lock in your profits up front because you have a commitment. You've assigned that financial risk along with the project risk, so you're able to lock in your profits. Now, if you want some bonus points during the buyout phase, here's what you can do. You can do some value engineering during the buyout phase. You can negotiate with that turnkey sub. And let's say you negotiate with them and you get them to agree to do the project for $95,000 through some combination of negotiating, value engineering, whatever the case may be, pencil sharpening. You just added $5,000 to your bottom line. You just added 5% to your bottom line on that scope of work. All right. Now, the only way you can do that is to buy out your projects as early as possible. That's the first key. The second key is to understand that buying out your projects locks in your profits and it assigns risk. So when you look at the buyout phase, think this is my opportunity not only to assign risk, not only to lock in profits, but it's also an opportunity to increase your profit margin during the buyout phase. We'll get back to the show in just a second. If you're a construction business owner, let me ask you this. Are you feeling trapped in your business? Maybe you can't take a real vacation without being on call 24/7. Or when you finally do step away, you know there's going to be a mess waiting for you to clean up when you get back. Or maybe the constant stress of putting out fires and carrying all the responsibility and making all the decisions is keeping you up at night. And you're worried about losing a good employee, or it's affecting your health, or worse, it's keeping you from being present with your family. What if instead you could finally step back from the day-to-day chaos, take back control of your time, and build a business that runs profitably and smoothly even when you're not there? If that sounds good, I'd like to invite you to book a free business evaluation call with my team. In just one call, we'll help you get crystal clear on 3 things: the root cause of the biggest problems in your business, the goals and vision you want to achieve for your company and your life, and we'll map out a personalized roadmap you can follow to make that vision a reality. Look, we've helped hundreds of construction business owners systematize their business so they can work less, earn more, and actually enjoy their lives. And we can help you too. But the first step, it's up to you. Head over to constructionleadingedge.com/apply to book your free call, or just click the link in the show notes. Don't wait until it's too late. Take the first step toward freedom today. All right, let's get back to the show. I have a client in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, commercial general contractor, and they are very intentional about capturing savings during the buyout phase. They set a target. Hey guys, in this project, when we buy it out, we want to create some margin. Maybe it's a percentage, maybe there's a flat number, but the team sets a number and they look at the buyout process as a way to increase their margin by negotiating strategically upfront. So first key is buy out your projects as early as possible. The second key is to understand that buying out your projects locks in your profits and assigns risk. The third key is that every project needs to be bought out systematically. You need to have a system, a process where this is basically on autopilot. This is not something that you have to say, oh yeah, it's time to buy this project out. What should we do? It needs to be done before construction starts. It needs to be a pre-construction activity. You got to believe that. Buyout is a pre-construction activity. Buyout is a pre-construction activity. Buyout is a pre-construction activity. There needs to be a documented process to follow. This shouldn't be something that you're making up on the fly every time. There's an old song, it feels like the first time. If you're doing these things repeatedly, you should be buying out every project. It shouldn't feel like the first time. Every time shouldn't feel like the first time. All right. It shouldn't be exciting and new when you buy out a project. It should be, we have a system to follow and we're following our checklist to buy out this project. And this is really important. It needs to be clear who is accountable for project buyout. You need to have clear accountability. Who on the team is accountable for project buyout? This is one of those activities that falls in the cracks between pre-construction and estimating and construction. Is this the estimator's job to buy out the project? Is it the project manager's job? Is it the superintendent's job? It needs to be really clear who is accountable for project buyout. One thing to consider there is who's accountable for the project budget. Is it your project manager? Is it your superintendent? Is it the estimator? Is it the salesperson in your organization? But it's really important that it's clear who is accountable for project buyout. So we don't have time in this episode to get into the accountability piece, but this question of who's accountable for what is it's a huge part of the strategic blueprint that our clients create for their businesses in our Systematize Your Construction Business program. Establishing who would be accountable for project buyout and all of the other key parts of your business is crucial so that you, as the owner, are not carrying all of that accountability. You want to be able to delegate results to your team, not be the genius with 1,000 helpers who's telling everybody what to do. You need to be able to delegate results, have the structures in place for delegating results and holding your team accountable. So that's what the strategic blueprint does for you. So think about this. Just picture this. What would it be like to start every project knowing that all of your subcontractors are locked in, your materials are secured, you know what the pricing is going to be, you have schedule commitments from your subcontractors before construction even begins, and you have your long lead time items identified, and you know what they are, and you know when they're going to show up. What would it be like to walk onto a job site and instead of scrambling to chase down selections and bids and order materials and put out fires, your team is simply executing the plan. They're just turning the crank, building the project that's already designed, selected, and planned smoothly, efficiently, and profitable. How much easier would your life be if your team had all of this information figured out up front? And then how much more profitable would the company be if before you put the first shovel in the ground or before you started demolition, you already had negotiated the best pricing with your subcontractors, you've eliminated costly scope overlaps and plugged in the scope gaps, and you locked in your material price so that you could accurately forecast your margins from day one. Just think about that. All right, so right now you might be dealing with delays, price increases, the chaos, the headaches. You realize, oh man, we have no buyout process whatsoever. We're doing it just in time. My superintendents they're chasing down selections, they're pricing, and that's the reason they don't have time. That's the reason there's chaos, is because they're buying out projects too late in the game. This doesn't mean that you're bad at what you do. It doesn't mean your team is bad at what you do. You're buying out the projects. It's just that there's really two things that are wrong. One is you're buying them out too late. And two, there's no systematic process to follow. It's just you're sort of winging it every time. So that's why I put together the How to Buy Out a Construction Project Playbook for you. It's a step-by-step guide that's going to walk you through exactly how to structure your buyout process. So you too, just like the big guys do, you can lock in your profits, you can assign your risk, and you can eliminate a lot of chaos along the way. You're going to learn the 7 steps to buy out a construction project, and you'll also get a construction buyout checklist that you can use on your very next project. There's probably a project coming up that's maybe sitting on your desk and you're thinking, wow, it would be great to buy this project out now. You can go download this playbook, which has a checklist in it, and immediately put it to work for you on that project. So the best part is right now, at least for now, it is free. You can get your hands on the How to Buy Out a Construction Project Playbook. Just go to constructionleadingedge.com/buyout, BUYOUT, or you can click the link in the show notes and download your copy now. That's constructionleadingedge.com/buyout, or click the link in the show notes. Hey, it's Todd. Before you go, if you own a construction business and you know you need to put the right systems in place, whether it's to be able to scale up, to be able to take a proper vacation, step away from day-to-day operations, if you know you need to make it more profitable, or even prepare it for a future sale, if you know you need to make some changes in your business, there are really only 3 options. And I want to clarify this for you. Option 1 is do nothing. Keep doing the status quo. Same inputs, same results. Keep doing the same thing that you've been doing. Option 2 is to DIY it, to do it yourself. You can try to reinvent the wheel, piece together solutions from books and podcasts, hope that trial and error gets you where you want to go. In my experience, this is the path of most resistance. Or there's option 3, which is to find a proven system that delivers the results you're looking for. Think about it. Sort of like when you sign up for software for project management or bookkeeping, you probably didn't try to code your own software, right? You found a system that works. So that's a proven system that gets you the results you're looking for. Well, if you're ready to systematize your construction business, we've helped hundreds of construction business owners implement our proven processes, including our nail the handoff pre-construction system that works for home builders, remodelers, commercial general contractors, and trade contractors like electricians, plumbers, roofers. The first step is simple. Schedule a free business evaluation call with my team. Just click the link in the show notes to book your call. On that call, you'll walk away with clarity on the hidden root causes of your biggest challenges. You'll learn about the pitfalls that you want to avoid as you move forward with your business, and you'll walk away with a customized roadmap that you can follow to get where you want to go. This is not a sales pitch, okay? There's no pressure. We may not even talk about working together. You may not even hear about our program. This is all about evaluating your business. It's going to be the most valuable hour that you've spent working on your business in a long time. So don't wait. Click the link in the show notes to book your free business evaluation call now. And the last thing, if you've been enjoying this podcast and getting value out of it, I've got a quick favor to ask. Could you take a moment and leave a 5-star rating and maybe a short review on the platform that you're listening or watching on? It really helps the podcast grow. It lets other people know what to expect. Plus, I love to hear your feedback. It means a lot to me. Thanks so much. My name is Todd Dawalt from constructionleadingedge.com, and I'll catch you on the next episode.